People who are successful run towards accountability. And everyone who's successful needs a coach. I know I'll be doing stuff at midnight, like, oh God, I gotta do this in front of my coach next week. If they're not holding me accountable, I'm just not going to prioritize it.
If you're ready to stop playing small and start thinking about being a CEO rather than just an employee, let's find out how we can go from employee to entrepreneur.
What did you schedule yourself to do? What did you actually do? Because the difference between what you scheduled yourself to do and what you actually did is the source of all of your frustration in life. It's in that moment that you have decided to be worth $250 per hour, because right now you're not worth $250 per hour.
Right.
So you need to learn how to do that. Do you want to learn how to do that? Who makes $250 an hour? Do you know anybody who makes $250 an hour? You've done 75 hours of pre-licensing. You're not worth $250 an hour right now. So let's do the extra work to be worth it. And then when you're worth it, you're going to feel comfortable telling people, hey, I'm worth it. Pay me.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk-TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. I want to know, everybody, today's guest is just rocket fuel every new real estate agent needs. She's a powerhouse. She is the powerhouse. She is the person behind Elite Collective Agents, the architect of an amazing, call it mentoring system on steroids, a 12 weeks long system that turns rookies into entrepreneurs. She helps hundreds of agents build real businesses from scratch. No handouts, no fluff, just belief, structure, and results. She's known as the new agent whisperer. And if you're ready to stop playing small and start thinking about being a CEO rather than just an employee, let's find out how we can go from employee to entrepreneur. Welcome, Charity.
Thank you, Dave. Can I just say 390 episodes? That's a lot.
Yeah.
Congratulations
it is.
to you for that consistency. That's amazing. You got a cool job, dude.
Thank you so much. I have more and more fun every day because I get to help more and more people. For me, and I know for you too, is that the smile. It worked. Hearing that and seeing that from agents, that's what I work for. I do a broadcast, not a broadcast, a session every morning, every Friday for planning and prep. We just joked a little bit before we came on the air about time management, and it's planning and prep. It's working on a schedule, a calendaring, how to get through the anxiety of it, because that's the biggest problem of time management. Because I think time management is bullshit to begin with, but that's beside the point. But the smiles and the ahas that I see with simple things that I've been talking about for years and years and years just bring so much energy and joy to me. Yeah, it's selfish. It's absolutely selfish. But here we are to talk about you. You've been in the business a long time. But before we get started, I do have a question, Charity. And you might know what the question is, but I'm going to ask it. What does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's Friday.
You're very close. You're very close. If I remember correctly, you got it wrong a year and a half ago. You were on episode 295, which was Groundhog Day in 24. It means thank God it's finale. It's
see, I got it.
That's all there is to it. So
there's only space in here.
Yeah, no, it's in there somewhere. You get it. I mean, everybody else gets it. I mean, everybody else realizes that too. Yeah. Look, you're no different than John Cheplack or Brett Sikora, all those great people that I've had on this broadcast. Anyway, so you became a new agent a while ago. We met during COVID. We were all trying to figure it out, and one of the things that you realized was that there was a problem. There was a problem in how agents are coming on. Look, there's a really low barrier to entry in this business. And one of the things that you were able, you really worked on, and you and I talked about it quite a bit over the years about how to get this mentoring of new agents so that they actually start producing. Because let's face it, a lot of agents don't know that what they've got to do when they're in that licensing class. We've talked about this, right? They don't know what they're going to have to do. They don't understand that the business really is easy. It's just not simple. Or is it simple and not easy? Probably both.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is that what you've been able to do in your journey and where you are right now, being the new agent whisperer and being a badass at mentoring. And you said mentoring on steroids. I'd like you to like give me, a summary of where you started and how you got to what drove you to be here. I mean, the new agent whisperer thing is really, really cool. So you can talk about that too.
Yeah. So when we met is actually when I first started in real estate.
It was
just beginning. Yeah. So it's funny. And I tell people all the time, I did not get my license to be a real estate agent for other people. I got my license to flip houses. So I was essentially the chief operating officer of a software company. And I was going to stay there and use my salary to get the loans. And my brother's a GC and we're going to find the properties and flip. Like I had no intention. I never knew real estate agents. It was just not my world. But I always loved the power of real estate to change people's lives and in the sense of generational wealth. Like my passion is generational wealth,
right.
And right. So, I got my license. I started at Keller Williams, and because I had a full-time job, I couldn't leave to come to the trainings in 2018, 2019. And, I would go occasionally and get good stuff, but it was just so frustrating. The whole getting into the business with it.
Right.
I had spent 20 years in sales before real estate, at a very high level. I know how to sell, but it was just so confusing and unnecessarily. Right. And so anyways, I realized, well, hey, this is just running a business. This happens to be my only skill. It's running businesses. That's what I've done my whole life. And I got excited that I could have my own business and I could change the trajectory of my future, my family's future. And that's always been my passion with real estate. And so, several iterations since then, went full-time in 2020 because I had to. I mean, my first year, 2019, I was sleeping in my car, driving Uber between Uber shifts. I had 5 jobs.
I remember that now. Yeah.
And, until I met Tina Call, who's my sponsor at EXP, and, I was able to learn directly from her without having to be on her team. But I really had to realize that it was not real estate that was the problem. It was not that I didn't have the skills, that I didn't have the capability. I just didn't believe in myself. And I was lucky to be around people who believed in me before I could believe in myself. And that's been a pattern in my life forever. Right. And so now with mentoring is so important to me for new agents, because I just remember that struggle has not been that long for me. And I started in 2020, COVID made my other jobs go away. And so I had to go full-time in real estate. It was kind of the kick in the butt that I needed, to be honest. I had done a lot of personal development, having to go through things I thought I had already figured out in life at that point, and I had not. And it was a hard journey. And I had to really realize it was just myself that was holding me back. And that is a really hard thing, the leap. Even though I was the boss before and I had run big sales teams and Wolf of Wall Street, Boiler Room, Glengarry, Glen Ross type of cold call sales. I had done that for a long, long, long time. But why could I not access that part of myself when it came to doing this for myself, right? It was people-pleasing tendencies where I'll do anything for anyone, but when it comes to something that I feel like is a benefit for me, it just wasn't that important. So that's psychology. There's a lot of trauma and stuff that came from that. So with coaching now, our joke is it's one of two things. It's either trauma or spreadsheets. It's either you have a process problem, or which is the spreadsheets part, or there's something inside of you that's holding you back. And so anyways, through all these different iterations, I started a team in 2021. I was mentoring 30 brand new agents by 2021. So within a year of going full time, I had 30 mentees because I just got really excited when I finally figured it out. And I was like, guys, come on, I'll help you, And when you're mentoring that many people at once, it's just a really good focus group to realize that there are certain things that everybody is asking, but they don't ask them at the same time or in the same order. And so I was like, God, I wish there was a place I could just put this and then they could just get what they need when they need it. So I started working to create this kind of system for my mentees back in 2021. So it's been 5 years now of working on this and putting this together. And I've put hundreds of agents through it since then, and they all start selling houses. And people are shocked that new agents can sell houses. It is my mission in life to prove to people that new agents can sell houses if you teach them correctly. But it's really that new agents need 3 things that they don't get generally, and they don't know how to ask what they need because they just can't articulate these 3 things. But the first thing that they need is training, of course. Then they need mentoring, then they need coaching. And those are all different things. And
Absolutely.
people in the industry wouldn't even be able to tell you what those 3 different things are. Training, to me, and the way I explain it, is knowledge. It's a baseline of knowledge. We can't 1 + 1 = 2. The sky is blue. This is an offer to purchase. This is where those things go. You can't move beyond training like until you have it. You need that layer. That's the ingredients of the cake, right? But you can go to YouTube and find training. Like, you can go anywhere. There's so much training. It's not the lack of training. It's the lack of the curation of that training. And how would someone even know how to farm a neighborhood? Like, how would they know to go on YouTube and type farming a neighborhood? They've never even heard that phrase before, right? And so what happens, start going down this rabbit hole and that rabbit hole and this rabbit hole, and then they're wasting time, and then they do nothing. They get frustrated and they quit. The next level from training is mentoring. And if training is knowledge, mentoring is wisdom. So any question where the answer is it depends is where you need a mentor. Because like, when you have to know how to write an offer to purchase, but when you have a client who wants to make an offer on 123 Main Street, you need somebody to walk you through. You're going to come to me or your mentor and say, hey, what should I advise them to offer? Well, that depends, right? Like, what's their motivation? What's the seller's motivation? How long has it been on the market? What kind of financing do they have? What kind of like concessions do they need? Like, all these questions that you need to have answered in order to give a good answer to your client and not mess it up for them, right? That's mentoring, and you need both. I can't talk mentoring if you don't have the basic knowledge first. It doesn't make sense. And then the third piece, which is really, really, really missing for most agents, but especially new agents, is coaching. And coaching is systems, structures, process, and accountability. And coaching tends to be very expensive. So for somebody who's coming in as a new agent who spent thousands of dollars getting licensed and has just agreed to work for free until they just make money, that people can't access coaching. Like, it's just, they need it most because they need system, structures, and processes. They need to be told what to do, when to do, how to do. These are the questions people ask me. What should I be doing? When should I be doing it? How should I be doing it? How often should I be doing it? Is it the right thing for me? Because just because somebody over here is doing this doesn't mean I should be doing it, right?
Well, that's a great question when it comes to lead generation. I mean, look, I'm a metrics-driven guy, and I know about the numbers. And people say it's a numbers game with the call, so continue with that.
Yeah, the main thing is like, there's also different personalities. There's different energy levels.
Yeah.
People have different life circumstances. They have different skills that they're bringing into real estate. And there is a piece of becoming a beginner again, especially for adults who are getting into real estate as a 3rd or 4th career. And, you might have been at the top of your career. Things might have been on autopilot. And you're like, man, I'm making all this money for these people. I should do it for myself. Not realizing that there is a leap from being an employee to an entrepreneur that no one talks about. The discipline that you have, it's not motivation. Literally anybody can do something when they're motivated.
Exactly.
The decisions that you have to make to do things that you're supposed to do when you don't feel like doing them. Those are the things that make you become the person who is successful, whose success comes to you because you deserve it. And so it's really not real estate that people struggle with. It's not that. It's just they need to have a blueprint created that is going to work for them. Because if I tell someone to make cold calls and that's the only option that they have, and do cold calls work in general? Absolutely, they work. That's how human nature works, for sure. But being good at cold calling is a very specific skill. Like, I had a team of 6 ISAs for 17 years who made the cold calls. When I say 6, it wasn't the same 6 people. We had to keep on rolling through all those people and retrain, because it's a very specific skill, and less than 10% of the people in the world are really qualified to do cold calls. So shockingly correlated to the number of people who fail in this business because they're told that the only thing they should be doing is cold calling. That's not it. But at the end of the day, it's less about what type of lead generation, because I can take the journey from New York to California, and I could fly, I could drive, I could take, the train. There are many ways to get there, and it should be what works for you. It's less about the actual vehicle as it is the currency of believing that you as an agent have value to other people. Because if I had a check for Dave that had $10,000 and was his name, do you think I'd have a problem calling Dave to tell him about it? No. Because most people who are getting into this business are people pleasers, overachievers, and perfectionists. And we call the deadly trifecta. So it's what brought them into a service-based business. They didn't get in it to be in sales. They got in it to help people. But it is the thing that holds them back from being able to help people because they don't tell anybody that they're available to help people, right? So the shift from becoming a salesperson to letting people know I can help you. And if I can't help you, that's okay. Like that is the thing that they need to hear. And when they learn that they have the value on our team, we have the saying that our goal is to either make or save our client more than our commission. Now, can that happen every single time? No, but that's our goal. And so that shifts their mentality of like, am I actually helping people? Do I have a $10,000 check for you? And I'm not afraid to call you and tell you about it. So whether it's a call or a social media post or whatever, open house, whatever the case may be, you have to learn how to be a business person, which is where the discipline and the personal development and all that comes in, and how to do sales, marketing, branding, lead generation, sales conversion, CRMs, tracking, all that kind of stuff, and be a good real estate agent at the same time. And that's why it's so overwhelming and confusing to new agents, because it's like there's 5 buckets of things you have to learn, like puzzle boxes, and someone has taken the cover off and thrown all the puzzle pieces on the floor and mixed it all together and said, okay, well, we're going to talk about this today. And there is no frame of reference or context of when I should do this in what order and what works for me. So that's what I've been working on building for the past several years. And to this day, we still make iterations on it every single time. And it's really, as much it is about the knowledge as it is the mentoring and the coaching that people need to be successful. And it's a lot. It's a lot.
Absolutely. I've been a broker owner. I've been a coach. I've been a mentor. I'm the growth manager with my team now, Align. And it's a lot because there's a lot of different personalities that you have to work with. Your process, your system, the way you put it together makes an awful lot of sense. But I want to ask you some questions based on what you've said and unpack a couple of things. And I'm going to give you a thought process that I've gone through, and you've kind of told me that I'm wrong. And what I want to talk about is the first thing is we talked about there's 3 pieces, right? There's training, mentoring, and coaching. I completely agree with you. Okay. But one of the pieces of that, and maybe this is too minuscule, but I don't think it is when I would bring new agents in, I would have them, the first thing I did was have them learn the documents, the contracts, what it looks like, what it's for, et cetera, et cetera. But what I learned was that if I teach them and train them all that stuff first, that if it took them too long to actually get an offer, I'd have to redo the whole thing all over again. Now, one of the things you said this week when we spoke earlier is it's a context thing, more or less, right? About understanding what a deal looks like so they know what they have to do. Could you elaborate on what I've just said with that in that question?
Yeah. To that exact point, it doesn't matter till it matters. So I can sit here and give you the real estate gold, and it doesn't matter. And like, you can hear me, you understand what I'm saying, you're not stupid. It just doesn't really matter until it matters. And so when we teach, the best way to teach is from broad to specific. And so what is missing a lot of times is the big picture, because there's so much information coming and it is a lot to process. What I explain to people, while there is a lot of information, there is a finite number. There is a time where this information can fall into one of these buckets that you've learned already. And that gives you a little bit of a peace and a comfort, because what happens when people are stressed, they can't learn. So you have to bring the stress down a little bit, and you have to keep motivating at the same time. And it sounds really dumb. And a lot of people who are in the position to be team leaders did not need this level of handholding. And it gets very frustrating to say, why do these people need that level of handholding? Because they do, because people are different. And that is literally the job that you have signed up for, to be a team leader. When people are joining teams, they are expecting training, mentoring, and coaching, even though they cannot articulate it, right? So there's a saying of, uncommunicated expectations is guaranteed disappointments, right? And so this is where when new agents are coming into any brokerage, they're coming in with the mindset, all of their past life experience of being an employee, where you walk in and you go to the HR department and there's paid training and job shadowing. And like that doesn't exist in this business, not as a solo agent. That's right. Why teams are successful. It's kind of the only way. And so I don't find that people generally have a problem paying for help. In fact, for me, I would prefer to pay for help. Like, I don't feel like I have the right to ask questions, and that's a people pleasing thing that I have to work on. But when someone feels like, okay, I'm getting something of value for this money that I'm exchanging, that's literally the definition of a team, which is how my team started, because last year I was coaching a team leader and she knew I had this boot camp and this coaching that I did that was very successful for when I say newer agents, anyone doing less than 10 transactions per year is a new agent to me. If you're not doing consistently 10 to 12, one transaction a month, you're a new agent. This is who I'm talking to. And so she's like, I know they need your programs, but they can't afford it. Is there a way that you can give them this coaching and training and mentoring and then just charge them when they're selling houses, like they can pay you back? I'm like, well, that's a team. It's like the definition of a team. And so I said, let's just try it. I know that generally in coaching, when you pay attention. And so I don't know if these people are going to do well, but we can take them out of the mentor program and give them so much more than the mentor program. And we did. And that was in August of 2024. And we went from 3 agents on my team to 60 agents in 6 months in 8 states. And we did, in our first 12 months, we did 155 transactions, all brand new agents, half of them dual career, no leads, just teaching them how to sell. And so it clearly has proved itself that it's going to work. In the 2025, by the end of 2025, we'll be at above 200 transactions for the team, same concept. And, basically to answer your question about where do we start, I get the concept of what you're saying about showing them the contracts. I think that gets a little too analytical for most people. I think what you're saying is correct, is that we need to show them the entire process at a big level, right? And I have day one of our orientation, we actually have this document that says, this is all the steps in the buyer process. This is all the steps in the seller process. At some point, we will learn all of these things. And if you want to go to Google or ChatGPT or YouTube and just type in this little phrase, you could deep dive into this piece. And your personality might prefer to see the sales part first, and your personality might prefer to see the execution piece first. But I'm giving it all to you so you have the choice. Know that I will cover this with you, but now you have the ability to also deep dive into things if you want to independently. And that is a big piece when you're training new agents, is both let them know that you're here to help them and it's their responsibility, which they do believe. I have not ever seen somebody who said, oh, it's not my responsibility. I think it's just how you communicate that. Just like we have to set standards and expectations for buyers and sellers, we have to set standards and expectations for agents as well. Because we have to remember, just like when you do 100 buyers presentations in a row, it might be the 100th time that you say it. It is the first time that person has heard it. And you have to remember that every single time that you talk to a new agent. We've seen this. This is old hat for us, but for them, they are discovering this for the first time, which I'm on the same page with you, Dave. That discovery fills my cup. When they close their first deal, what it does for them is it shows them that the life that they dreamed about is possible. That is the most important thing to me that I can be involved in, because I've had to have those questions with myself. I make way more money selling houses, way more money. If I was to take all this energy and effort I'd take in training and coaching agents and sold those houses myself, I would make a lot more money. But it's not as meaningful for me. It's not the helping agents. It's my purpose. It's my mission. It's the vision to help make the ripple effect. And the coolest thing about our team now is that everyone on our team has been basically brought in by other people of our team. So they've have seen success and get excited. And then they bring people from real estate school or their friends and say, oh my God, you have to do this because this has changed my life. Some of the people from our team have left our team to go to other teams and have been very successful. And we are super happy for them. Like that is the mission, right? So it is a team. Like I will be on Zoom. I was on Zoom last night until 9:00 at night, writing an offer with one of my new agents. I'll be on Zoom tonight, writing another offer. We have closings happening every single day. It's a full-on team, but we don't have an office. We don't give people leads. We just teach them how to do it and hold them accountable, which I argue is what most people want in their first year. And the goal of our team is just to be on that team for 1 year. And then you can go off and be solo, or you can join a bigger team that has leads if you want to. But my goal is to make you self-sufficient so you can leave the team. Can you stay if you want to? For sure. And we have plenty of people who will be with us for life. But I want to give you the tools to step out and be confident and then have the ripple effect of you turning around and getting super excited about sharing this with somebody else and changing their lives. For me, that's my purpose. Money comes from that, and that's great because we have to obviously pay our bills. But it's just been a lot. I mean, I have had so many mentors in my life that if they were not in my life, I would never be where I am. And so the ability to be able to give that back now at this point in my life is just, I'm so grateful for it every single day. And it makes me want to just get up every single day and get excited about helping people.
So what I love about all of this is that it just takes it from a different angle. And it's not that different. It's just, okay, first you need to learn how to do what the business is all about. You see how it works down those two columns, right? Buyers, sellers, right? And there's other things you could do too. But it's the context that you're putting it in that makes it a lot easier. Because, okay, so one of the things that when we talked the other day, we talked about new agents, we talked about no leads, we talked about, that no leads, no office, right? How are they going to do this? And now the other thing, which is for me really cool, and I've been really successful at this. I've been successful at it a bit, is helping dual career agents. People that want to get into real estate. Maybe they want to keep that job, or maybe they don't. You know, and it's funny. I heard yesterday from a friend of mine who a coaching client of mine. He said, Dave, when the side hustle makes you more money than your regular job, it's time to make a decision. What are you going to do? Quit the regular job and do the side hustle, because that's what it's all about. Dual career can be, hey, they do both, right?
I was literally on a coaching call right before this. I also coach, it's 101. But I have a girl who is a full-time pharmacist, she's a big girl job. She just booked her first FSBO appointment as we were right an hour after our call. And she last year did 11 transactions, and this year she'll do 30. And she has a full-time job. She's doing 6, 7, 8 times the average agent. And she's like, I'm going to stay at this job and because I can. So why does it have to look like one size fits all? That's the beauty of entrepreneurship, right? If she is happy doing that and it's building her financial future, as long as she can do the work, because I'm telling you, my dual career agents are sometimes more in than the full-time agents, right? Because
I will completely and totally support that. I will completely but it's a I don't know if it's a mindset. It's not work ethic, because let's face it, there's a lot of agents out there that are doing the work, and honestly, they're not getting anywhere. And I think it's because it has a lot to do with mindset.
It is.
Right? It has an awful lot to do with mindset. And I don't know if you can teach it. I don't know how you get them to aha moments. Have you had that in your experience? Having the person that's going to work hard and keep making the calls or doing the prospecting, doing the lead gen, but they're just not getting there. How do you handle that?
It's a belief in themselves. It's a worth issue. And this is what I say: if I can teach you all this stuff and you can do all the work,
right?
The boxes. But if you do not have the mindset behind this, the value, the feeling of value, it's like me tying your arms and legs together and throwing you in the deep end, and you are trying to swim with your fingertips and your toenails. So you're doing the tactics, but there's no heart and soul behind what you're doing. So some of the things that we talk about is especially in the very beginning, first of all, who are you? What's your mission, vision, values for you as a person? And then marketing is basically getting attention. Okay, but who do you want to get attention? You have to talk about who's your ideal client. Who do you want to help? Why is this important to you? The same thing that I was just talking, you got to discover that. Of course, when you're a new agent, of course, it's anyone, like, dear God, someone hire me and pay me. Like, of course, you're not going to turn people away. But
Right.
all of your messaging, all of your lead gen strategies, because lead gen is offering something of value in exchange for contact information. Well, how do I know what people will value if I don't understand my ideal client? So we've got to go start from ideal client, which comes from who you are as a person. And so much, everything in your business is literally between your ears. Your business does not exist anywhere in the world except in your own mind. And so the hard part of this is learning how to learn. You've heard the Kruger-Dunning effect, where you're like, oh, I'm an expert. And no, now I know nothing. And then, okay, I'm learning something finally. And so like this valley of despair is where people quit. And so what I'm teaching you is you have to know that that's coming and be prepared for it, and understand that it's the decisions that you make in that valley of despair to keep on going, because I will guarantee that you will want to quit in about 6 weeks. Guarantee. And I am preparing them for that in advance. If it just sneaks up on them, whatever trauma is in their head and the way that they talk to themselves, they're already beating themselves up for not being good enough. I thought I was going to jump in and have 1 million sales at once. There's no realistic expectation of what this looks like. And then they don't. And then there must be something wrong with me. And why am I so stupid? And I thought I was smart before, and I guess I'm not. Like, there is a lot that people have to go through in the first year. So the thing is, like, the amount of training that we give our team is like 120 hours of training and assignments and homework and coaching. You cannot do that one-to-one with new agents, because it's too much. And so that's why we had to create this program where it was like, what can I give live? What can I give that's recorded? How can I get them to watch things that are recorded? Because I can't just give them recorded if I don't have the lives. If I don't have the lives to keep motivating them and encouraging them and setting those expectations and having that touch point where they don't feel totally alone, especially because we're a virtual team, they're just not, no one's going to sit there and watch modules. I have a coach I've had since 2023. Have I watched all her modules? No, I have not. Even though, and I've gotten success from the things I've learned from her, but I still haven't gone in to watch her modules. And she has to tell me that thing that you're stopping, that you're not watching, is the exact thing that's holding you back. And so I have to tell them that. And then that kind of encourages them to say, all right, am I making the decision today? Am I making the decision today to be successful? And it is a constant flow of decisions every single day, every single minute. We get decision fatigue, right? Running your business. Right. So these are things that people have never experienced before real estate, not just sales. They've never experienced running a business. And then knowing what to do is fine, but do you know how to take an idea and turn it into execution? Because most things take 7 or 8 times as long as we think that they're going to take. We have them track their time in 15-minute increments for 2 weeks. In their first 2 weeks, what did you schedule yourself to do? What did you actually do? Because the difference between what you scheduled yourself to do and what you actually did is the source of all of your frustration in life. Because you don't know how long things take. You don't know. You have no idea. And you're putting this thing off because you didn't think you take you so long. When you actually do it, how long does it take you?
Not long at all.
And that's why we do the 15-minute increment, because when I take an idea and I want to break it down into its actionable steps, if that step that I have on my to-do list, which is where dreams go to die, is more than 15 minutes long, I will never do it. You have to break it down further in the planning stage, because planning energy is different than execution energy. And this is the big mistake that people make. I'm going to get up and do cold calls from 9 to 11, but from 9 to 10, you're still trying to plan how to do it. You're not going to be very efficient. You're going to get 1 hour less, right? Then you're exhausted from the planning if it's not a natural state for you. And then, like, what kind of energy are you going to give to the actual cold calling?
You don't have the energy after that. You don't want to freaking do it.
And these are the things that we talk about when we customize a lead generation plan. We also talk about at what periods of the day are you in high energy versus low energy, because you can still be productive at low energy. And the reality is, of the work that needs to be done to be successful, a very small percentage of it, 20%, actually needs to be high energy.
Right.
So if you're like, oh, you're trying to fit the square peg in the round hole, and someone told you have to call from 9 to 11, but you have a full-time job, so you can't do that, or like, I don't have any energy in the morning, my energy's at night, like, I guess I can't do it because so-and-so said I had to do it from 9 to 11. It's not about when you do it, it's about doing it in the appropriate amount of time as a percentage of the total amount of time that you have to work. So we do the 80-20 rule in reverse. We do 80-20, 80-20. So instead of spending 20% of our time on income generating activity, we spend 80%. Now, for you, if you're a dual career, you might have 20 hours to work. What is 80% of that? You might have 16 hours work. What is 80% of that? So it is not about a total number. It's a percentage of being effective and efficient, which are two different things. Then of that 80% that you have allocated to income generating activities, 80% of that time needs to be spent on the type of income generating activities that will get you results in 0 to 3 months. Because what's the first thing that people go for when they're afraid to do lead generation? They go for the types of leads that have low rejection, low risk, low reward. You want to farm a neighborhood? Knock yourself out, but only spend 5% of your time doing it, because it's not going to actually give you any results for a year. Instead of like spending time doing that, like, don't not do it, but do it for an appropriate amount of time. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels. And it's hard enough to be on a 90-day cycle. It's like going to the gym for 90 days and not getting any results. Who would keep going?
Nobody.
And that is exactly why people quit if they don't have somebody saying, this is totally normal. You are doing this correct. Maybe change that. Like, you're doing the work, but it's like one word that you're saying. The worst thing is to do the work and then just be doing it wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's hard enough to get people to do the work. Let me just do it right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. And going through the motions as well is a big problem as well, because people think they've got to do the work. Let me do the work, but they're not doing it with any intent whatsoever or in any context whatsoever.
Right. And then the main thing too, on top of doing that work, is tracking that work. And this is the piece that takes people to success. It is the being an adult and being a business owner and being willing to be honest with yourself about the work you are or are not doing. And I have to constantly stress to my people, I do not care if you scold on Facebook, scold on Facebook. You needed that mental, it's not my business. It is your business. So I'm teaching you how to visually see for yourself, because that is the key to being successful, is being honest, knowing yourself, because you're going to push yourself way harder than I can push you. And that's the problem. Right. Typically, team leaders feel like they're pushing, coaches feel like they're pulling. So it's just shifting, like, hey, this is what you're meant to do. I'm going to encourage you to do it. I'm going to give the tools to do it. And like, here's your opportunity. I'm going to sell you on your ability to do this and encourage you and believe in you. But you've got to do this. And you've asked me to keep you accountable. One of my favorite people, John Cheplock, he said, accountability is the highest form of love. And so if I actually care about you and I actually love you and I actually want you to be successful, what you have brought to me is not my business, it's your business, then we're going to come up with a plan together, because you're coming to me for the plan. I have the plan, but you have to do the work. And if we're not doing the work, what is holding us back? Is it a spreadsheet problem, like spreadsheet process problem, knowledge problem, or is it a trauma problem? Is it like you are holding yourself back because of limiting beliefs? So what are we working on this week, right? And as long as you don't quit, and when you're tracking things, remember I said going to the gym for 90 days? When you're tracking things, you see results. Even if I don't have a paycheck right now, I can see that work is happening and paychecks are coming, because we forecast our pipeline and see when things are going to be closing. And even if that means the person that I'm talking to today may not close until 2027, you know what? We're building 2027. We had a result. We checked it off our checklist, got the dopamine hit, and the dopamine hits of success are required for people to continue to do things.
So that's, I want to get into something here really, really quickly. Is you've got the person, what's holding them back? Mindset? Is it fear? Is it drama? Is it technical? Is it spreadsheet? I know there's not one size fits all for the answer, but give me a couple of answers to that, because truth be told, I am a very selfish person on these broadcasts because I want the information for me so that I can help others with it. Give me some context there and how we can help people get away from, I suck at this. I want to do it, but I don't do it. And why you're not doing it, I don't know. Give me some help there. I mean, you have people that know what to do. They're good at doing it, but they don't do it. Or when they do it, they suck at it because they don't get any appointments and there's no conversion in that process. Can you talk to me about that?
Sure. Well, one of the first things that we teach people is I don't actually have them, I'm going to get crucified for this, I'm sure. I don't ever have them use a CRM. We put things on spreadsheets because I need you to learn the actual sales process and understand the value of each stage of conversion. Because most people who are because my specialty is teaching non-sales salespeople how to be salespeople. So they need to understand that these are things that we need to track along the way. First, you got the lead. Great. When did you get that lead? Put that date right there. If you have a lead before you've contacted them, you now have a 5% chance of closing. Wonderful. So then what is the day that you contacted that lead? Put that there in the next column. Those two things should be the same date. If those are not the same date, we found a problem. This is the answer. Then you've spoken to the lead, you have a 10% chance of closing. When is your buyer's consultation? If I'm noticing on this spreadsheet as your coach that it's taking like so long between initial call to conversation to buyer's consultation, that's where the problem is, right? There's a lot of stages of conversion, doing the buyer's presentation, getting the buyer's agreement signed. If there's a lot of time between those two, what's happening?
Absolutely. Right.
And you don't get any credit for just doing showings. If you're at 25% chance of closing if they have a buyer's agency, but you only go to 50% chance of closing once they're writing offers. So if I see that you're stuck at 25%, you've done 100 showings, you did not say something correctly in the buyer's presentation. Something is wrong here. So I'm able to very easily pinpoint the exact thing that's going on. People only hesitate when they don't know what to do next. Now, what is that what to do next? We have to break it down to its smallest. Some people need it very small. Some people don't. Some people, we got to break it down until it's clear. What is my one goal this week? So we're doing lead follow-up and I'm looking at what percent chance of closing and when they're going to close and what's the lead source and all that kind of stuff on a spreadsheet. And they're making notes for me about their motivation. And I'm saying, tell me about this person, for them to have to articulate to me the motivation of their client. And I'm asking them questions and they don't know the answer. I said, well, wax on, wax off, little grasshopper. You might want to go find that answer because that is going to be the motivation that you need to push into to get these people to move. And so every week have one goal to go from this percent to that percent. You guys are trying to go from here to here and then beating yourself up when you can't do the impossible. Like, hello, like that's not going to work. So it's a mix of both, push to do the next right thing and also be easy on yourself because the goal this week is just to do this. And when it's very clear, how long does it take you? Most of what's people are hesitating is because they don't know the next step because they're new. So once they've learned the actual steps of conversion, because by the way, you have to convert all the way through the transaction. That's all sales. Every single step of the transaction, writing offers, that's a conversion point. Being under contract, that's a conversion point. Getting the negotiations, a conversion point. Being like, those are all conversion points. And so we have to teach. A lot of times I see a lot of things like, oh, just get the lead, convert the lead, get the lead, convert the lead, which is very, very important. When I'm seeing how many times have you tried to like convert this lead or follow it up with them, and it's like 2 or 3, I'm like, bro, that's not enough. Keep going. And sometimes they need that permission or instruction to do the next step. And people tend to be externally motivated. 90% of people are motivated by fear or needing to please somebody else. So having a coach who's like, all right, you should be doing this next, even if they don't feel like it and they know I'm going to be looking at them like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's just, and that's why people who are successful run towards accountability. And everyone who's successful needs a coach. I know I'll be doing stuff at midnight, like, oh God, I gotta do this in front of my coach next week. If they're not holding me accountable, I'm just not going to prioritize it.
Yeah, I've been called militant.
Yes, so. I've been told I missed my calling as a drill sergeant.
and honestly, Charity, it was, and that was I was called militant, and that was more of like a bad thing. Honestly, I don't think it is. I mean, one of the things I try to tell the people I'm working with is, look, I know you've got a lot of stuff going on. You're talking to a lot of people, but could we just get to the point and get to the problem? I don't care what your story is. I don't care if they dropped $5 on the floor, or they like said something, or they didn't do it. I don't care what the story is. Let's get the context of what we got to fix here and go from that, whether it's your mindset or everything else, right?
But sometimes what you find needs to be fixed comes from the story. So it is a balance, because if somebody might be telling you
there's a balance
that way, yeah. But it is very, very, very. It depends, right? Everything is, just like it depends with our clients, our buyers and seller clients. So if you have the skill of working buyers and sellers, you do have the skill to coach agents. It's just, we have to think of them as our coaching clients instead of our employees. Right. Because as a team leader, they are not your employees. They are volunteers. They don't have to be there. So you would speak to a volunteer in a very different way than you would speak to an employee, right? Because an employee has to be there. They're getting paid to be there. But for a volunteer, what are you doing? You're kind of selling them on the mission, keeping them encouraged, right? Like that's a different type of relationship. And it feels much better, because when you're like, you feel like you're hovering like a helicopter parent trying to make people, you're never going to make people do things. So just stop thinking that's going to be possible. It's about, do you want to do this? Is the motivation internal? Can I be your touch point here and there to help you want to run through the wall? For sure. But I cannot be with you at midnight when you're making that decision to either quit or keep going. It's in that moment that you have decided to be worth $250 per hour, because right now you're not worth $250 per hour.
Right.
So you need to learn how to do that. Do you want to learn how to do that? Who makes $250 an hour? Do you know anybody who makes $250 an hour? You've done 75 hours of pre-licensing. You're not worth $250 an hour right now. So let's do the extra work to be worth it. And then when you're worth it, you're going to feel comfortable telling people, hey, I'm worth it. Pay me. So it's really feelings of worth and value. And if people want to be worth that and they have a motivation to do this, and some people don't, not everybody, 100% of people will be successful. That's okay. But I don't think it should be 90% of people who are failing. I think that's a failure of this business. And we've had, of the people in our team, I'd probably 80 to 90% of our agents, brand new agents, have sold houses this year.
So that's really, really great point. I mean, it should not be, and everybody, the number we've been hearing for years is 87% of new agents fail. I don't know if that's the first year or within 3 years or whatever it is. That's the number we've been hearing. You're absolutely correct. I want to ask you a couple of quick questions before we finish today. And what is about lead generation? And we talked a little bit about this the other day. We talked a little bit about it today. Lead generation is specific. And what I mean by that is specific to the agent that what they're willing to do. So when it comes to that, Charity, in what you do and your training, mentoring, and coaching, what works for you? You talked about working with a buyer and getting a buyer lead. Well, they got to get that lead. Where's that lead coming from? What is lead generation all about for elite collective agents?
So the first thing that we do, and I teach them the tradition. I do what we call free 99. I learned lead generation. There's like everything had to be free. Like even like we would go to events and festivals and fairs and set up booths and spin the wheel and all that kind of stuff to get leads. But it was like as cheap as possible. Like I learned from the best on how to keep, look at a profit and loss statement and understand, is this marketable? Can I hold this thing to profit? So we talk about this to agents right away. We talk about leverage. We talk about transaction coordinators and showing assistants. And I talk to them literally the same way I talk to team leaders, because I expect them to be adults and to understand what I'm saying. But we learn the down and dirty, traditional, make a spreadsheet of 400 people that you do not want to ask them if they want to buy or sell. That is not the purpose of your phone call. Please stop doing that. Nobody wants to hear you to be like this, like Amway salesperson, which they don't want to do in the first place. So if you can shift their thinking that we are not calling these people to ask them if they want to buy or sell. What we're asking them is, do you know anybody who has any questions? And they don't have to be in this state. I would love to answer their questions. And I promise I would take care of them like family. This has multi-purpose, and every assignment that we have has multi-purpose. All of them have multiple layers. It's letting people know you're in real estate, not being cheesy and gross. And also the response that you're going to get from people, they're like, oh my God, you're so amazing. You're going to do a great job. That's going to build their confidence that other people think more highly of them than they even think of themselves.
What does
So,
that sound like, Charity?
say what now?
What does that sound like?
What does it sound like as far
What does
as
it sound like?
what is,
As far as when you approach it, you mean you want one question to be answered and you want to talk to them on the phone. What does that sound like?
yeah, we call people and say, hey dude, I haven't talked to you in a long time. What's going on? Like, don't make it weird. What's happening? We have some people who are that is still even scary for them and they need a thing of value. So we say, call them and tell them you've been challenged to do 100 acts of kindness before the end of the year. Who do they know who needs an act of kindness? You have to have an excuse to call people if you need that. And some people do, and that's okay. So we can find that for you and say, and do you know anybody who has any questions? Not you. I know you don't have any questions, but they might like, oh, I do have questions, or we were thinking about this. And then you have to track that and you have to put them on your deals and leads spreadsheet, and you have to like plan for that. And then it just becomes a system, and it's very boring. Its consistency is boring, but boring makes you money. And we on our team, we get together on Zoom several, like 6 or 7 hours a week and work together, just like commitment to capping. We get on Zoom and we have
wow,
yeah, 100% took it from that. And that's what worked. It's that heavy accountability. And we get on, and I took this from the tech world, and we say, what did you work on yesterday? What are you working on today? What's blocking you? Is there anything that you need from me? They tell me what they're planning to do. I can very quickly rearrange their priorities. It's like, maybe do this instead. And then you have 2 hours to work. And at the end, we're going to recap what we did. And they're so shocked all the time about how much work they can get done. And again, it's teaching them these things that are way beyond how to open a door, because that's not the hard part of real estate. Literally anybody can do that. It's the personal development, the discipline. And they're going to come, and when you're ready to quit, just tell me. I just know it's going to happen. So I'm inviting that reality, and I'm not shaming and blaming. And it is just normal. If you're not feeling like this is hard, you're not working hard enough, right? So go take a nap. Did you eat anything today? Have you had any water in the past 2 days? Maybe go touch grass, as the kids say. Take a break, take a 2 days break, take a week break, and understand this is a marathon and not a sprint, and then come back, feel refreshed, and start all over again. And as long as you can commit to that, you cannot lose if you just don't stop.
Yeah, I want to be clear on something. I'm still a kid and I don't say that. So anyway, this is we have gone on. You have been fantastic. I want to thank you so much for your time today. We're coming up on time, and I want to just ask you as a favor to me, if you would come on in another month or so, we just continue our conversation, because it would be great. We had Russ Lagan on last week, and Russ said, I want to come on again. I want to do this again. I want to continue where we were. So he's already scheduled for January, and I want to do the same thing with you. So if that's okay with you, that'd be great.
I can talk about this nonstop, as you can see.
What's that?
I said I could talk about this forever. Like, we could just be on here for like hours and hours and hours. It's my favorite.
I know. It's just fantastic. And you brought up from when we met, I mean, all the things that we talked about from years and years. And I remember your stories. I remember everything and things you were going through and how you were changing. I've watched your growth all the way through, and so have a lot of people. And I want to thank you for giving me the time today that you have. And I got 2 things for you. They're both very, very important to me. One is, how can I help you grow your business?
I think honestly, this platform to just help other people, like the co-sponsoring situation that we have at EXP now has been the total game changer. So
Really?
1,000%. We have seen such explosive growth because most people want to recruit new agents, but they don't want to deal with them because they don't know how. You have to have a really good system. So,
Right.
Now people confuse because people use the word team in the wrong way in this business.
They do.
And downline. This is not my downline, to be clear. Of the 60 agents that I have on my team, maybe 3 of them are my downline. So anyone can join my team just like they could join any team. So if you're bringing people into EXP and they're new agents and you want them to have the support that they need to be successful, please, reach out. I'm happy to bring them in, interview them, and tell them what we offer and see if they're motivated to do the work. Co-sponsoring is an option as well. We have like different structures for co-sponsoring. So I think that has been so huge. I mean, I obviously created this before co-sponsoring was a thing, but now that it's a thing, now I think it benefits everybody. It's a win-win. Who recruit. But I mean, just kind of getting the word out that this even exists, because it's funny because I have another coach who's like, Charity, Nobody knows who you are. They're like, who? She's like, I'm trying to talk about you to people. And they're like, who? How do you spell her name? So I got to get out on the internet. I have these conversations, as you can imagine, 8 or 9 hours per day, but I just don't put them on the internet anywhere. This is huge. Thank you for allowing me to be on this platform.
And of course, last but not least, you got one before from $295, but we got a new hat coming up for you. And just so somebody in the family has it or wears it or whatever, it doesn't care. Just it's something I don't want to do to people. I mean, it's just a hat. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
But I want to thank you so much. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. Next week, we have Bob Berg coming on. If you guys don't know the name, he's the co-author of the international bestseller, The Go-Giver, and the entire series. We're going to be talking about the Go-Giver influencer next week, along with some of the other stuff from the Go-Giver. If you have not read that series, do it. It will help you tremendously. I've read it all, and I'm reading it again now. Anyway, that's for this week. Charity, just stay on for a minute as we go off. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week with Bob.